Welcome back to the Professional Lovers Channel. I'm Al.
And I'm Patty, and we are the Professional Lovers.
Lovers.
And by now you know this if you're one of our regulars, but if you're not, we're glad that you're here. We talk about marital issues from our experience of being married for 27 years, but through the lens of Married at First Sight. So if you're listening, you're a Married at First Sight fan, as we are, as I have been since the very beginning, season 1. And then I made him a convert. So here we are. Yep, here we are to talk about the last day before decision day. And tonight, the couples talk to friends and family members about the great things about marriage, the hard things about marriage, and what they might possibly be thinking for decision day. And one common word that lots of people use tonight, well, 2 words, one common theme, roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in this kind of situation, it would be a roller coaster. You've only got 2 months.
It would be a severe roller coaster.
Yeah. So you've only got 2 months to figure out if you want to stay married or not.
Somebody you just met.
And, in a sense, that's a little unrealistic.
True.
But, this is what they signed up for. So this is what they have to go through. So at least everybody had, good and challenging things to say about each other. And so we'll just go down the line like we do every week. And once again, we start with Haley and Jacob, who personally I don't think should say yes. What do you think?
Well, as we were looking at it, I thought of whether or not there was any couple who, after saying that they wanted a divorce, somehow off camera or after the show decided whether or not
to get back together.
To try to get back together.
I don't remember anybody doing that.
I don't either.
If you guys remember any couples doing that who are together, who said on camera that they wanted to divorce, let us know, because I don't remember any couple who has actually done that. I know that many have stayed friends. I know that many have sort of kept going out kind of thing, but I've never heard of any couple actually remarrying.
Yeah.
After saying they wanted to get a divorce.
But I can see, in a far-fetched situation, but I could see him reaching out and, maybe going on a date or, just trying to start something simple.
Off camera.
With no
pressure,
stress, no pressure.
Yeah.
And trying,
Yeah. Well, you asked, did they seem to be on the fence? And they sort of come across as though they are, because they've been in a good period right now.
They're next to the fence, but they're on opposite sides of the fence.
Yeah. Well, I was glad that Jacob explained why he left early.
Yeah.
Last week.
True, when they were on the
And
retreat.
it was a good reason, and Haley agreed it was a good reason, but he could have said something.
True. Well,
he didn't just have to dip out.
Well, no, the thing about it is that he received the notice, I think, either the night before or even that early that morning, because the guy that he left his dogs with had a call at 4:30.
I know, but he couldn't have just said...
I mean, he could have texted or something like that, but I wouldn't want to wake anybody up at 4:30 in the morning to say, hey, I got to go.
Text on the way. But that's your wife. It's not just anybody.
Well, we're sleeping in different rooms. We ain't that much of my wife.
It's still your wife.
But again, again, they did have a good weekend, at the retreat. So,
But at least he had a good reason, and she concurred.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens with them. She kind of felt like his age, having never been married, only dating to marry. These were some of the things that she told her friend are red flags for her. But again, they both had, positive things to say about each other as well.
Because he's made some adjustments. I think she learned a little something about herself, even though Unfortunately, it was at his expense. Um,
But
but
is that a thing? Is that a thing where if a man is, you know, in his 30s, close to 40, over 40, and has never been married, is that a red flag?
for women, yes.
It is. I'm wondering
What?
though, from a male's perspective, should it be a red flag?
Not necessarily. I mean, I can understand, but finding out why would, to me, that's just a topic of discussion. We met. I was in my 30s,
Yeah.
and you were like, "You ain't got no kids."
Yeah.
No, I don't have any kids. I mean, I didn't find it strange.
But it's still in our day and age. But that was 27 years ago. But still, that's for a man to be in his 30s. You weren't 30. You weren't 31.
Yeah.
You were what, 33?
Yeah.
No, you were 34.
Well, when we got married?
No, when we met. You were 33? I was only 30? No, I think, no, you were 34.
Yeah,
so, you were mid-30s.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it crossed my mind as to why you weren't married, had never been married, and I was glad you didn't have kids, but, that's unusual.
You think something was wrong with me? You think I'd have a third eye come out every now and then?
No, but it crossed my mind that you might be too good to be true. Thank goodness he wasn't.
I'm true.
But I mean, yeah, it does cross your mind when a man is much older and has never been married. I'm not going to say it's a red flag, but it's definitely something that crosses your mind. But anyway, let's go on to Brianna and Vincent. They had some ups and downs tonight. It was a tit for tat. So Vincent got his feelings hurt that Brianna said she felt that at times he's disorganized or not as organized as she is. But she said, I feel like I can be organized enough for the both of us. But he took offense and got his feelings hurt and then said, well, when we were at the altar and all your family was saying you were bossy, that, I specifically told the experts that I didn't want a woman who was assertive and direct. So that kind of turned me off. It was so childishly
immature.
petty.
Yeah, that was...
Even if that was something that crossed your mind, to come out and say it then like that just came across as just pettiness. And I have to say, as a direct, assertive, strong woman...
You?
Who's not bossy... you do have to have a man who's very assured in himself, who's very self-assured in his manhood and manliness. And Vincent doesn't give me that. Yeah.
He's just unnecessarily sensitive, in certain things of how people project things to him. I mean,
or even how he looks to people. It's about how am I looking to you?
His perception of himself.
Yeah, in other people's eyes. Yeah. Is just, you need to get over that, bro.
It's unnecessary, really. I mean, are you happy with yourself first? I mean, because if you're out here trying to please everybody else, you're in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, that's not gonna work well. But I do like that they talked about it.
Yeah,
now and they talked it out.
I think they have a good means of communication. I think that's a very positive side for their relationship.
And the second positive thing for me is that he knows his issues. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he acknowledges his issues and that he needs to work on things.
He admits to being a little a-hole at times.
And when he walked out on the day that they separated, that was a little a-hole-ish. To just say, what did he say?
I'm going home.
No, it said, good knowing you, or something like that.
Oh, you're talking about tonight?
Yeah. Yeah. As he walked out to leave. Well, it was good knowing you. That was not cool. And even if that was supposed to be funny,
I think that was, I'm hoping that was TV.
Yeah.
Because that was ugly.
Yeah. It was. Because he
8
did not
weeks,
turn around and say anything to say, I'm just kidding, honey,
yeah.
baby, whatever. Just, well, it was good knowing you, and turn around and walk out. So not cool.
Yeah.
So not. That was very disappointing.
I mean, I can imagine actually the way the evening may have gone was the way they came into the house after having a nice dinner and whatnot and talking things out and, being pleasant.
And then him doing something stupid like cutting her braid.
Well, no, I'm talking about when she asked him, "You ready to help me take off my shoes?" And he was like,
Right, yeah.
I'm only kidding,
Right,
and,
exactly.
and being, jovial with the moment.
Exactly.
And
yeah,
I think
but he didn't do that.
The jovial part wasn't placed on camera because I think they had a very good night. And
up until he cut her braid. And he knew that was stupid.
Once he did it.
And yet she didn't make him.
Yeah.
She didn't dog him out like she could have.
No, he felt bad enough because he knew that was a dumb thing to do after the fact.
But he needs to learn from that on how he responds to stuff that...
Or basically how she responded to what he did.
Right.
Knowing that, yes, it was a mistake, but life goes on and we get past the moment and move on. You don't shut down just because something doesn't go right or doesn't go your way or, it makes you feel bad. It shouldn't make you feel bad for more than a moment, and you move on from that because life has to go on after that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't just let it linger.
Right. So we'll see what they do. I think they're going to say yes.
Yeah, they need to.
All right, Virginia and Eric. They know what their issues are too.
Mm-hmm. Well,
they view marriage differently. They communicate it differently. And he knows that how he communicates is not the most productive when it comes to how she receives it. Because he told his friend that was an issue that she probably had with him. Mm-hmm. And they did say that another one of their problems is the fact that they don't resolve real issues. They keep talking about it, but they would rather kind of sweep it under the rug to keep having fun, to keep everything feeling light and happy. Yeah. But that's not a good practice.
No, it's not.
In our book, we got to talk about our book, Becoming a Professional Lover. One tip says, unresolved anger and resentment will destroy a marriage. Yeah. You keep sweeping stuff under the rug, not talking about it, all it does is fester, and it just will blow up like a volcano.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the beginning of this season or last season when a parent said, you shouldn't let things linger. Don't let it go on for a month or so. I'm like, a month? You handle it as soon as possible if it's an issue.
Right. And again, it's not about, you have to talk everything out immediately. Because some people need time to process. I'm kind of quick in my thinking and how I process, and you are not. And so I can be real, I can't even snap my left hand. Thank you. I can be real quick, and you need some time.
Yeah. So I'll let her say what she has to say, and I'll go.
And then I'll let him. Yes, I'll let him think on it. Yeah. But it does get resolved.
Yeah. No, it's not something that lingers. And, I kind of, because again, I know how I can be in a snap reaction. And my snap reaction is almost kind of like my body size. I mean, I'm a rather large guy, and I can appear to be intimidating. Not that I think I would intimidate her.
He doesn't.
But I don't want it to be misconstrued or totally misunderstood as to what my response would be. So I would rather my response be understood versus just received.
It's kind of your quickness is sarcasm.
Yeah. Well.
And it can be a little nasty. Without you meaning it for it to be.
Yeah, no.
But that's just how it comes out.
It's not meant to be nasty.
And since you can't take stuff back.
Yeah. I'd rather not say it right then and there. Yeah.
Exactly. So, that's cool. We worked it out.
So, hopefully a lesson to some snarky people out there. And it's not to say that you can't express yourself, but sometimes it's just better to just take a breather and breathe in between your thought and your lips and allow it to come out where it's not
so
bitter or, harsh or sharp.
Right, so that your communication can be productive.
And it's about the content as opposed to the delivery.
What do you mean?
Well, it's about what it is you're saying as opposed to how you're saying it.
No, it's both.
Well, I mean, yeah, it should be. But again, it's somebody being sarcastic or somebody being snarky. It's more so how you're doing it that people, will...
are reacting to.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha. All right, then our last couple is Clara and Ryan. Mm. They also know where their issues are. But one thing that really, and I have said this before, I might have said it last week, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But I don't like the way Clara projects to other people that the marriage is 10 out of 10. There are no complaints. We've heard her complain.
Yeah.
So that tendency to dismiss the things that bother her annoys me.
And I can understand that. I mean, it's... Yeah.
Because that's not helpful.
True. It's not if... It's definitely not if he's getting to hear certain things and you're not necessarily feeling that way. So, that's not being honest.
But the two of them, it was interesting. Ryan, talking to his friend, said, well, she's very transparent with her feelings and her emotions, and she wants to talk about emotions and feelings all the time. And sometimes I just want to talk about sports. Oh. Whereas when he starts philosophizing and talking about, the logic of this and the logic of that and planning this and planning that and setting goals 10 years from now, she zones out. And it's interesting because a couple of other tips that we have, one says to love a woman, a man has to accept how she thinks. And conversely, to love a man, a woman has to accept how he thinks. Men and women are physiologically different. Not just physically, but, psychologically, and we're wired differently.
Literally, they are wired.
And you just have to, and rather than trying to force each other to be each other, you find the commonalities and then you adapt everywhere else.
Yeah.
So, her wanting to talk about emotions all the time, understand where that comes from. And then Clara sometimes talks about sports.
Even though she can't.
And Ryan, sometimes talk about feelings.
But I mean, women are emotional creatures. I mean, not to say the guys can't be, because I feel that I am. But, there has to be a balance. You have to show concern for your spouse, your significant other, and how they're feeling about whatever the situation is. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are times you come in, you may not feel like talking, but it just comes out. And it may be a time where you need to just sit and listen. So that's what you do, because it evidently needs to come out for some reason. It's meeting you at the door.
Right.
It's meeting you at the door for a reason. So accept it when you come through the door. I mean, if you have to, you can just say, well, hold that thought. I got to go to the bathroom. And you might take 17 minutes in the bathroom just to, decompress.
Well, but that's also about learning each other too.
Yeah.
And if you know that when, you come home and he needs to decompress or she needs to decompress or whatever, then you give him a little space. Yeah. And then so, and we've talked about that before, timing of when you discuss whatever, and the depths to which you discuss whatever, all of that goes into knowing your spouse and your communication style, and the best time to to get in depth is the best time to just chill.
Yeah. Pick and choose your battles.
Now, Ryan did say that he believes there's a science to compatibility, and I agree wholeheartedly. And we have talked before about personality testing and getting your loving styles test done.
Yeah.
And that's what she was doing.
No, that's what he had done.
He had done, but that's what she was doing right there with him. Remember? Because as she was giving answers, and he was like, we have answered these things completely differently.
But before that, she was talking about aligning with the stars.
And he was like, yeah,
ain't nothing going on in the stars.
Yeah.
And, that ethereal thing. I mean, some people believe in it. That's, hey.
But testing is good.
True.
And it is necessary to be able to determine your level of compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the test is the be all, the ends all, but you need to know what your level of compatibility is. Now, the danger is, just like with Ryan, because she was answering certain questions differently than he did, that had to do with goal setting and achieving and, thinking about, your life and your future and all that. She's like, no. And I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that she doesn't set goals.
Yeah.
It's just that she's not obsessed with setting them the way he is.
Exactly. And it's not even an obsession. It's just that he has a way of projecting a seriousness about it, where it's not to say that it's not a serious question to be seriously answered, but it's not given that type of intense thought, on a consistent basis.
You mean by her?
By her.
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that gives an opportunity for them to rub off on each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She can help him lighten up a little bit, and he can help her focus a little bit. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then real quickly, going back to Virginia and Eric and their views on marriage, you said something which I wholeheartedly agreed with. And that is, that she doesn't understand what it means to be other-centered.
Other-centered, yeah. Yeah.
When he was talking about, there's certain things that I feel that I feel respected by. And if you love me, you will think about doing some of those things.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true. If you are married and you are in love with that person, then you want to do what makes them happy, what makes them feel secure, what makes them feel respected, what makes them feel number one in your life.
Their version of love. I mean, for a guy, love for a guy, in most cases, is being respected.
Right.
And respect for a woman is being loved. And I mean, we can unpackage that in a lot of different ways, but respect is critical for a man.
Yes, it is.
And as a married man, I let my wife go out and hang out. Hey, for you to be in the midst of your friends to say, hey, I got to call my husband, just let him know I'm cool. I might take him extra, Yeah, I don't care what kind of ribbon your group might give you. Well, you got to check in. Yeah, well, they ain't got nobody. And that's exactly why.
Yep.
You giving the respect to your man, just saying, hey, I'm going to stay for a couple of more minutes. Everything's fine. No problem. This is where I'm at. And, hit me up if you need to. But I'm good. I just wanted to let you know.
Respect.
And that's what it is.
That's
respect.
all it is.
And it's appreciated. Because you were thought of in the midst of all of whatever it is that you're doing. You were thought of. And there's nothing more, I guess,
comforting.
And tangible.
Okay.
For a male to know that his spouse is thinking about him
Mm-hmm.
at whatever instance, because we know that women think about all kinds of things in all kinds of different ways. And it's not to say that they don't think about us, but because, the laundry needs to be done and what's for dinner tomorrow and, what's the kids going to wear? Am I going to work tomorrow? I mean, all kinds of stuff. I mean, their brains just like, it works. I mean, they're multi-thinkers as well as multitaskers. And to take a moment out of that highway and just say, hey, it's makes me feel good.
And that's the goal.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's your goal too. So, other-centered. Think about that. Yeah. And on that note, we are going to say goodnight. Yeah. And we'll see you next week as we begin probably the 2-part on Decision Day. Because they love to drag it out. Yeah. So if they do all of Decision Day next week, I'll be shocked.
Well, they only got 4 couples.
This is true. So they could do 2 each hour.
Yeah.
Let's hope for that. So, until then, stay safe and peace.
Enjoy.